All right, so we're going to begin with religion chapter, and this is chapter 6. We're going to be looking at different religions that are found around the world, as well as where they were founded and where they're distributed today and how they diffused over time. This is going to be one of our cultural chapters that we're going to be covering. And remember that in our last chapter, we covered language. And the chapter before that, we talked about folk and pop culture. So this is a continuation of cultural human geography, starting with key issue 1. Our learning goal is students will be able to explain where religions are distributed throughout the world. So that's going to be our focus, as well as just a quick little background and introduction to the different religions that we will further talk about throughout the chapter. Religion. Religion, as many of you probably know, is a set of beliefs and practices that order people's life. And what we mean by that is basically it helps people categorize the things that may be looked at as good things or bad things to do in life, or good deeds or good practices that keep them in order, and rules on eating and prayer and worship, marriage and relationships, and all these different types of things that are related to people's belief systems. Some religions are actually designed to appeal to people throughout the world. That basically what we mean by that is that there are some religions that set out to spread the word of their religion in order to gain more followers. And then you have some religions that are just designed to appeal to a set group of people, and usually these are people that are geographically found just in certain regions of the world and not as widespread as those religions that set out to convert others. So, geographers then distinguish two types of religions that relate to what I just said in the earlier slide, and that is that universalizing religions are those who do attempt to become global and therefore appeal to more people throughout the world. 58% of the world's population practices what we call a universalizing religion. And we have 3 examples of those religions here on the slide: Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism. All 3 of these religions are found throughout the world and do attempt to convert others. On the other hand, you've got ethnic religions, which are religions found locally and are practiced by a very culturally specific group of people. And 2 examples of ethnic religions are Hinduism and Judaism, and they're a lot more concentrated in certain parts of the world rather than found throughout.
So when we look at the religious categories, we also have to look at the non-religious categories. And these are people who believe, who express no religious interests and don't participate in any organized religious activity. The 2 groups of people that you've got are your atheists. These are people that don't believe that God exists at all. They don't believe in anything out there that is greater than themselves. And then you've got the agnostics, and these are people who believe that nothing can be known about whether God exists. So these are people that think that there may be something out there that's bigger than themselves, but they're not entirely sure what it is, and they won't classify him as God or not. Going back to the universalizing religions, which were Buddhism, Islam, and Christianity, you can then take these religions and break them up into branches, denominations, and sects. A branch is a large and fundamental division within a religion. Below the branch is a denomination, and this is a division of a branch that unites a number of local congregates. So these are people that believe in the branch, but they're a little bit different than some of the other groups. And then you've got a sect, and this is a relatively small group of people that's broken away from the established denomination.
And so let's look at an example of the breakdown of the religion Christianity. So, like we said in the earlier slide, For the universalizing religions, they are broken down into branch, denomination, and sect. And here's the example. You've got three major branches of Christianity. And those three are Roman Catholic, Protestant, and Orthodox. All three are Christian, belong to the Christian religion, but are known as branches, meaning a break away from that overarching Christian religion. And as you can see, the percentages in the brackets next to each branch, 51% of the world's Christians belong to Roman Catholic, 24% belong to Protestant, and 11% belong to Orthodox. You further break down the branch into what we call denominations. Within that branch, then you have individual churches who do things a little differently than maybe what the branch of Christianity may do. So examples of denominations are Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, and Presbyterian. So those are actually denominations that belong to the Protestant branch. So we're just using the Protestant branch as an example to break down into denominations. Okay. Now, you have a further breakdown from the denomination, and that is known as sects. So if you take the Protestant branch, you break it down into Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, and Presbyterian, and then you just take that Baptist church and you further break that down. So then you have these independent, smaller churches with less followers, such as Southern Baptist or Zion Baptists, that belong to that sect, which is part of the denomination, which is part of the branch. And looking a little bit further into Christianity, and obviously, again, our focus in this class is to look at a topic, look at where it was founded, how it's distributed throughout the world today, and how it diffused. So now we're going to focus on the spread of Christianity and more than 2 billion adherents, which is more than any other religion. So the largest religion in the world with the most followers is Christianity, and it is also the most widespread, meaning that it's found in all parts of the world more than any other religion. Nearly 90% of people in the Western Hemisphere are Christians. So even though it's widespread and found all over the world, there's a heavier concentration of Christians in the Western Hemisphere compared to that of the Eastern Hemisphere. And we'll look at more examples of where in the Eastern Hemisphere Christianity is found, and also what the other religions are that are found in the Eastern Hemisphere. When we talk about the Western Hemisphere, obviously that includes North America, Central America, South America, and so those are areas that are known to have more Christians than other parts of the world. And looking at the key on this map, you can see the different color coding. The darker reddish color represents 80% or above Christians, and then so on with the different colors. Looking at a map of the United States, we can now look at religion and Christianity on a different scale than the world map and break it down throughout our country. We've got Protestant churches that have 82 million members and Catholic churches that have 66 million members. So overall, Christianity is predominant in the United States. And then even further, when we look at branches, the Protestant branch outnumbers the Catholic branch of Christianity in terms of its members and followers. And you can, again, look at the key on this map, and it shows you the majority of church membership by county, okay? And you have the different color coding. Once again, if you look at the red across the southern region of the United States, you have the Baptist church there representing that branch of the Protestant churches. And in blue, you've got the Catholic branch, and so on. You've got some other denominations there throughout. Now, we're going to stop a minute and ask that you answer these two questions in your notes. based on your observations of this map and also your prior knowledge of migration and population and the history of people moving around and things we've talked about in the past to answer number 2. And then number 1, you can basically answer just by looking at the map. So we're going to stop a minute and give you time to do that. Okay, now looking at Islam, which is another universalizing religion. And like we talked about with Christianity and having the different branches within the religion, Islam is also split into 2 branches. And those 2 branches are known as the Sunni Muslims and the Shiite Muslims. 83% of Muslims belong to the Sunni branch, whereas 16% of Muslims belong to the Shiite branch. Islam is a religion to 1.5 billion people. Again, a pretty large religion with many followers. It's predominant in the Middle East, in North Africa, and throughout Central Asia. And this map on the slide shows the areas in which have been mentioned here. So you can see the percentage of Muslims based on the key with the dark green and then the lighter shades of green. And those are the percentage of Muslims living in those regions. And again, as you can see, North Africa, parts of Central Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Central Asia. And if you go even further, you can see in Southeast Asia, Indonesia especially, you've got a large population of Muslims. Islam is the religion, and which means to submit to the will of God. And Muslim is the follower or the person who believes in Islam. And the reason why I'm explaining that is because sometimes the words are just used incorrectly, whereas a person may say, are you Islam rather than are you Muslim? And just to clarify any confusion about the use of the words in terms of which is the religion and which is the follower. Okay, now we're going to just spend a little more time on Islam by looking at where in the world, we mentioned where Islam is predominant. Now we're going to look at a little section in your textbook that addresses the increase of Muslims in certain parts of the world, such as in Europe and North America. So there's a little heading in your textbook on page 188, and it is titled Islam in Europe and North America. We want you to take a few minutes, open to that page, read that section, and complete these sentences by filling in the blanks to understand what's going on in those parts of the world and how it relates to Islam. Okay, and the last thing here with speaking of Islam, looking at this map again, a little larger, 1/2 of all Muslims live in North America and the Middle East. Name the 4 countries outside of those 2 regions. So basically, the general regions of where Islam is predominant is North Africa and the Middle East. We want you to name 4 countries outside of those regions where it's a little bit broken away from those regions, but yet still have a high percentage of Muslims. So go ahead and take a minute, analyze the map, and write down those 4 countries.
So the final part of our universalizing religions is Buddhism, and this is the world's 3rd largest universalizing religion, and you can typically find this in East Asia and Southeast Asia. So we're looking at India, China, Mongolia, that area of the world. Buddhism, like the other branches, has 3 main, like the other religions, has 3 main branches, Mahayana, Theravada, and Tatrayana. Mahayana is the largest branch at 56%, and these people are typically located in China, Japan, and Korea. We are going to look at ethnic religions now. So we finished our 3 universalizing religions. Now we're going to take a step back and we're going to look at our ethnic religions. So the ethnic religion with the largest number of followers is Hinduism. They have 900 million adherents, and nearly all of them are clustered in India, Bangladesh, and Nepal. In your notes, I want you to take a second and answer, why is Hinduism considered an ethnic religion? And you will need to turn to the page in your book to answer the question. This is a map showing Africa between 1900 and 1990, and it is a map showing the animists and the followers of the animist religion. These are traditional religions in Africa of the tribes that live there. As you can see, the animists make up a good majority of Africa during the 1900s, and as you move through time into the 1990s, the population of the animists has decreased significantly, leaving Africa mostly Christian and Muslim. The second ethnic religion is Judaism, and this is the first recorded religion to preach monotheism. They are the first believers that there was only one God. This is a contrast to a lot of the religions that were around during their time period of starting up, who practiced polytheism, which meant that they worshipped more than one God. That would be like your Greeks, your Romans, during the ancient times, who believed that there was multiple gods. It was founded 3,500 years ago in present-day Israel, the Fertile Crescent region, which is right off the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. The distribution, 2/5 of them live in the United States, 2/5 of them still live in Israel, and then another 1/5 of Jewish population is dispersed throughout the world. Christianity and Islam find a lot of their roots in Judaism. Judaism was the first, and Christianity takes a lot of their beliefs and practices from the Jewish Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible.